Street to my left. Winding down for the night. They've got a busy night of production. Bastards. Just going through Birmingham. 4:36 in the morning. Sun's rising. I've been on the road for about an hour. The loose plan for the day, well, my plan for this morning, this is how I'm going to play it out. I've got no idea if it'll work or not. I'm hoping it will. I'm going to London Gateway to get some diesel. We buy diesel in, the company buys diesel in bulk, and we have a bulker tank in the Bowser, big Bowser. You know, like, I think it's something like 50,000 litre tank in our yards. And of course it's a lot cheaper for us to buy like that than it is to buy from, oh, I've got hiccups, from service stations and garages, obviously. So I'm going to make a little detour, and the other fact is there's nowhere to bloody park. I'll need to take a break, and London Gateway is as good as that. It's an hour and a half, hour 45 to where I've got to be. And the time that I've got available, it should be alright. The way I should have been going was M6, M1, M25. M1 is shut, pain in the arse. Well, it is at the moment. It might be open by the time I get down a bit further. We'll find out in a bit. So, oh, throat and hiccups. So, my idea is to go M6, A14, M11. Not a great deal in it, to be honest. 6.5 a dozen. See what the sign says. I'll get a bit closer. Oh jeez. Anyway, I'm hiccuping. I don't know what I've got in my throat, but it ain't a frog. Oh, hiccup. Anyway, I'll speak to you later. Hello. You may be wondering why I'm in the outside lane doing 40 mile an hour. Well, I'm asking myself the same question. Doing it because the road signs are telling me. But I've also put you on because I don't know whether you're going to see it now. The sun is just rising above the skyline. Workforcing Road. The big orangey red sun. I don't think you're going to be able to see it. But I'm sort of travelling in the correct direction. Certainly won't be now. I'm going away from it. I don't know what's going on here. Not a lot. All means close the roads, but let's have something to show for it. Well, I don't know whether you saw that sun then to the left. don't know what all that was about. It's not good when you're being fed out into the into oncoming traffic at just 40 mile an hour. Bizarre. No signs to say that the M1 is shut, so I'll be going down the M1 now by the looks of it. Really croaky this morning. Come on in, why don't you? Cut it tight. Hopefully you might be able to see that sun now. Sort of bear round to the left a little bit. Maybe not. Down in a dip. There's a whole load of talk at the moment about the shortage of drivers, and they're blaming it on lots of different things, and it is a combination of, you know, it's like the perfect storm. And yes, Brexit hasn't helped because for a number of reasons. Firstly, that some European drivers have gone back to Europe. COVID has kicked in, and they went back to Europe, to their home countries, and there they remain. And haven't come back here. But you've also, you know, and this is where we don't know the full truth. So I need to go back a bit actually before I start talking about where the shortages are. How bad is the situation? The honest answer is no. I don't think anyone knows. You know, I drive all over the country, and places I go in and out of. You know, if there's that many drivers short, then where are all the trucks they normally drive parked up? Answer me that question. Where are they? Because I haven't seen any. And it's the question that keeps on being asked by drivers, you know, that are in and out of distribution centres, that, you know, and these centres run their own trucks. And the same old questions asked. If, you know, if there's that many drivers, if we're that many drivers short, where are all the trucks parked up? Because they're not. So there's an alarm bell there. Is the problem being exaggerated? The second thing. Okay, this is where we go back to where the drivers can be potentially where they've all gone, if they have gone anywhere, and a certain percentage have. You know, what that percentage is, nobody knows. So, like I said, some have gone back to Europe. Some have gone back to Europe. We don't know how many, because we don't, and they haven't returned. Fair enough. Drivers are, and always have been, poorly paid for the amount of hours that they do. And the way they, you know, and our company's no different. You fall into two categories of drivers, or a number of different categories. You can either have salaried positions, by the hour positions, or self-employed. Okay. I'll come on to the self-employed contractors in a moment or two. But I'm salaried. And this is where it can all come a bit unstuck. I'm paid a day rate, but if you do a 15-hour day, that day rate ends up below £10 an hour, which is why I don't tend to do 15-hour days, because I'm not going below that figure. Well below, and it's well below, so I just won't do it. Unless I absolutely have to. And then not sure who that was. He obviously knows me. Yeah. And then you get your paid by the hour boys, and they're the ones that will push on and do the 15-hour days, because that's how they make their money. Thankfully, we don't anymore get paid by the mile. European boys sometimes do, get paid by the kilometre. And that to me is I don't know whether I'd like that or not, because you could end up with short runs. You get a lot hanging around. So I could do a short run to Swindon, which is 50-60 mile away, and I could be stuck on a boat for 8 hours. why I moved over, I think. So yeah, it's that's those, and then there's the self-employed lot. Now, as a limited company, you can be as a you're your own operator. You've got your own truck. You either drag one of their trailers or you rent a trailer out. You just you work on behalf of. But a lot of people do that just for one company. Now, under IR35 law, new rules and regulations come out. They're saying that if you work just for one company, then you actually should be employed by them, which is a load of bollocks, really. It really is bollocks. And that's got who you work for should have no bearing on as long as you pay your tax at whatever your account says you have to pay. That should be the end of it. It's not a tax dodge, because when you're self-employed like that, there's no sick pay, there's no you've got to pay your own pension, there's no holiday pay, if there's no work you don't get paid. You run your own service, you do all your own service, it's all all the risks are on you. No, so it's the same for electricians. No, you get a self-employed electrician that gets all his work from a builder, from a medium-sized builder. Can't do it. You can't. That's the way the rules are now. So you've got a lot of people going, do you know what? I'm not going to bother doing that. And a lot of them are the older type, so they've gone, do you know what, I'm just going to retire now. So there is the retirement factor coming. There's also the factor of no tests being done, so there's no new starts for like a year now. So, you've had a year's worth of retirement, and you've also had no new starters. So that's two different ways to do these drivers. But I think, and this is my theory alone, and I've never heard anyone say it, but this is what I think. When all this shit started, and nearly everyone, was put on a furlough, an awful lot of these drivers that work for, not so much the supermarkets, but some of the other, all the other drivers, the ones that shipped all the goods about, where people were not buying goods, where like B&Q was shut and all the clothes shops are shut, and all the people that shipped all the clothes around shop to shop, and to a certain degree it was supermarkets as well. And it's just all the big companies. They suddenly just went all on the furlough. All the big the manufacturing that we do in this country more or less shut down. All these drivers got put on a furlough, and whilst all these drivers were on furlough, they started looking around for other jobs because they had bugger all else to do, and they enjoyed being at home every night and getting home at sensible times, being home to see the kids and spend time with the missus, and doing family normal things that normal people do, that normal people take for granted. My mum and sister, we had friends down. They come down from Yorkshire last night, and they came down yesterday. They stayed in a hotel last night, stayed in the Club Lodge, and they said to a couple of our other friends, "Oh, do you want to come out for dinner?" And asked my gorgeous Kira if she wanted to come out. So they all went out. So my missus went out on her own, which she doesn't mind doing, but I wasn't there. And that's the other thing of, you miss out on these things. I was stuck in a fucking lorry park, wasn't I? Killed. And so all these guys that have been on furlough, and they're going, do you know what? I can survive. every night. And then and a lot of them have done, and they've completely changed careers. Bloody chevrons. And they've completely changed careers, whether they've gone into caring or whether they've, they now drive a van, little parts van, or whether they've, they've gone into a factory, got a forklift license, gone into just doing all sorts of different weird and wonderful jobs. You do hear about it, and you go, that's where the real shortage is. They've been on furlough, they've asked to come back, and they've gone, you know what, I fucking hate. And that's where the shortage of drivers are. That's the fact. I mean, it's two extremes at the moment. You've got agencies banding around £20 an hour on day shifts. I mean, the bubble will burst. And the thing with that is that a lot of, you can say, oh yeah, why don't you go and do that then? Well, yeah, the bubble will burst eventually, won't it? And then where will you be? Right up shit quick. So, no. Now, I know the work from the docks is going to be solid. I've got a couple of years to go. Stick it out. So yeah, and a lot of drivers are just going, you know what, I'm fed up with. Yeah, and a lot of drivers do moan. All the way through the shit show, drivers were heroes for keeping on working, along with all the other heroes. Oh, thank you for working, keeping the wheels turning. Now we're back to more or less normal. Get the fucking trucks off the road. Look at them going into Kent at the moment. I can't fucking park in Kent. Can't overnight in Kent. Fucking crazy. I'm making sure that when I go into Kent today, I've got enough time to get in and out. Fucking terrible. A whole area like that is just more or less banned fucking. Well, they banned overnight parking. There's only a few truck stops, and they're fucking ran. And drivers are just going, I've fucking had enough of this. Trampers tend to remain trampers, though. You're not going to get the trampers changing because they're on a good, they earn pretty good money. But day rate and night rate is pretty shit. I saw a job advertised the other day and it said a minimum of 40 hours a week. Well, that's fine, okay. That's minimum, so you're not hourly rate, but the annual salary was 25 grand. Now I know that it wouldn't be 40 hours, it would be more like 50. 55, possibly more, and you're only on 25 grand for the hassle and responsibilities that you have as a truck driver and the bullshit you have to put up with. I don't think so. Don't get me wrong, it's not a skilled job. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to be able to fucking drive one of these things. Just a bit of common sense and have your wits about you, really. That's all it is. But I'm not saying that we should be on 20, 25, 30 pound an hour. That's not right. But you want a fair day's pay for a fair day's work. And a lot of the companies out there aren't doing it, and then they wonder why they can't attract drivers and they treat them like shit. You know, and it's like, well, take an inward look, fellas. You've got to ask yourself why you're not keeping your staff. And the transport industry is beyond the times, because the transport industry has always gone, you go in with a complaint and the boss says, yeah, well, if you don't like it, then fuck off then. And that's always been the attitude, you know. That's how it works. It's a tough gig. And in this day and age, with the people coming up, you know, the youngsters coming into the world, they won't tolerate that. You can call them snowflakes, but you know, there is a dividing line where you just go, actually, no, that's not the way to treat people. Treat people with a little bit of respect, and they'll fucking bend over backwards to help you. You know, be nice to someone, and they'll be nice back. It's the same with me. You get me home decent time on a Friday, I'm more likely to fucking work the next weekend for you. Now, fuck me about, and I don't do anything. I did recently, from around January through to beginning of May. I did very little weekend work, and as soon as the person left, I'd jump back on it again. Don't have a problem. So yeah, I think drivers are just fed up. They're fed up with the pay, they're fed up with the conditions. And I stopped in Kiel last night, and thankfully the shower in there was alright. But sometimes you go in places and there's, I wouldn't wash a fucking cart horse in there, you know? It's just minging. Absolutely vile. It looks like someone's gone in there that's just been working on a building site and washed all their clothes off and bloody boots. But how the fuck do you get that dirty? No, they've taken their clothes in and fucking washed them or something. And I've heard a couple of times recently that a driver's gone into a shower and someone's had a crap in the fucking shower tray. It's like, dear oh dear oh dear. No, it's not on. Facilities for truck drivers are really poor. And even worse for the ones that have to park on the laybys. I mean, my company is good in respect that they expect you, you know, they don't like you parking in laybys. They want you to park in truck stops and service stations. You know, laybys are last resort and only if you haven't got anything on board. Well, I'm going down the M1. And yeah, so yeah, there is a driver shortage, but you know, people wonder why. Well, paying conditions. It's as simple as that. You pay a decent rate, and a lot of drivers will come back. So it's not a shortage of drivers, it's just a shortage of drivers that are willing to work for shit companies and shit money. It's that simple. Really is that simple. And it's taken something like the shit show that we've all just been through the last 12, 18 months for people to realise that there is more to life than, you know, and for a lot of people, being on furlough has been a bit of a wake-up call for them. I think if I'd been furloughed, I'm not sure that I would be back trucking, to be honest with you. I'm not 100% certain. don't know how much you can see. It's not looking as red, orangey as it was earlier. It's now more sun-like. Wind turbines around there. I just don't understand people to get the hump of them. What would you rather have? A nuclear power station somewhere? So we're now onto the M1. I've waffled on enough. We've talked about driver shortages. So to recap, driver shortage. It's not because of the lack of drivers. Well, it's not because of the physical lack of drivers. They're there. They just don't want to work for shit money in shit conditions. So transport industry, get your act together. And this is more aimed at the companies and the government actually. Create an infrastructure that people want to work in. Decent rest stops, more parking, with decent facilities. We're not asking much. I live in a fucking box all week, you know. If I was in a prison cell, I'd have more room. Seriously. I live in a fucking 9 by 6 fucking box, metal box that gets to unbearable temperatures in the summer. With the risk of being your load getting fucking nicked, your diesel getting nicked, or being fucking robbed, as a couple of boys have been recently. Or, like the boy in fucking France, stabbed through the heart with a fucking sword because the dirty bastards were trying to nick his diesel. Fuck's sake. He got out to confront them and they fucking got the sword. Twice through the heart, died there, blood everywhere. I've seen the pictures. Fucking unsettling, I tell you. So, yeah. That's the problem. And companies, get a grip, wake up. Realise that your driver is an asset. And not just a commodity that you can fucking pick up and throw down and treat like it's a fucking paper bag, whereas when you're finished with it you can screw it up and fucking chuck it out, because you know you just go along and pick another one up. But the trouble is, there isn't another one to pick up at the moment, is it? So what you're having to do is trying to fucking encourage the fucking one you just screwed up and fucking screwed over for the last fucking couple of years. You got to fucking try and motivate him back to come to work for you. And that's the problem, isn't it? That is the problem. Yes, there's other contributing factors, but it's the biggest one that no one's talking about. Paying conditions. And it should be, really, and it's the most obvious as well, isn't it, really? Most obvious. So I'll speak to you all later.